What's up, everybody? Hope you all had a wonderful January 1st, a New Year's Eve. Hope everybody stayed safe, and hope that your first week of 2024 is a success. If you got those New Year's resolutions going, I hope that you're staying on track with all of that, and hope you and your families are doing well. We are excited to bring you the second part of the movies of 2024. We got through June last episode. This episode, we're going to tackle July through December and talk about a lot of good ones, man. There's lots of good balance on this list. Again, the list came from Movie Facts on Instagram. So give them a like, give them a follow. While you're there, check us out too. Movies That Make You is our handle on Instagram. And so, yeah, give us a follow. We post movies when we watch them. And I'll especially post episodes so you kind of know what's coming up. So talk a little bit about the coming weeks on the episode. So I'll leave that there, and hope you guys enjoy this episode. If you have any questions, want to reach out to us, feel free to do so on Instagram, and we'll listen for that. So without further ado, here we go. Here's Kristen and me. We are back. Hope you all had a wonderful New Year. Happy New Year to everybody
Happy
out
New
there.
Year.
Yes, thank you so much for clicking on the podcast and taking a listen. This is going to be a parent edition. You already heard my co-host, Miss Kristen Sprang.
What's up, guys? How are you?
And we're going to continue our conversation around the movies for 2024 and which ones we're excited about, which ones we might not be as excited about, all that stuff. So excited that you've joined us again for this week. How has the first week of 2024 been for you?
It's been great. Things are just looking up. Everybody's been happy and healthy, and I'm really feeling like this is going to be a good year. How about you?
Yeah, it's been a good start to the year. It's been busy. I'm actually been working a lot on some videos that I'm doing for another social media channel called Props or Not, and we haven't launched yet. So be on the lookout for that. I'll probably post some, at least on my personal Instagram. But I might have some crossover there because we are going to do some reviews of movies and stuff on that channel too. So looking forward to that. But it's a lot of work putting those videos together, but it's been fun and enjoyable. And, with the new year, we also got some new decorations in our house, and we finally got those up. Had to get a shelf unit, and it was a little stressful.
A little stressful for Jonathan, but he made it through.
We got it through. Had to hit up Home Depot. It's one of those things when you buy a piece of furniture or something that you're hanging on the wall, and they provide tools for you like screws and anchors, and they say use these, and then those don't actually work to hold anything up. It's a little frustrating.
But that's why we have Home Depot and Lowe's.
Exactly.
Good backup.
So I got some pretty awesome anchors and got it hung, and it's looking great and looking pretty. So fun times there. And then the boys are going to be back.
Yes.
Starting Connor and Colton, you're going to go pick them up today. We're recording this on Sunday, and then we'll post this tomorrow. But have you been missing the boys?
Yeah, I've missed them. So it's been almost 2 full weeks, and that's a long time for us to go without having them. But it was great seeing Jacob and Zeke last week during the day. So
yeah,
got our time with them too.
Yeah. So we'll be back with the boys for next week's podcast. Haven't decided on what we're going to be doing, but I'm going to be talking with them and kind of getting their input about what they want to talk about next. There's lots of fun stuff coming out. Like we already hit up the first 6 months of the year. There's a lot of really cool things. So if you didn't check that episode out, go back and listen to it. There's lots of stuff like Argyle, Madam Web, Furiosa, Godzilla and Kong, Planet of the Apes. I mean, there's so many kind of big blockbusters coming out, and so the boys are excited about some of those. And so we're going to pick it up with the July, and kind of start from July and go to the end of the year. July 3rd, so this is July 4th weekend, which is usually a big movie weekend. And the movie that we have on the list that we got from Movie Facts is Despicable Me 4. So what do you think about that one?
Well, the Minions are always hilarious. I've loved all the Despicable Me's, and I don't think they can do any wrong.
Yeah.
I'm both thumbs up.
It's kind of wild how much Steve Carell does the voice of Gru,
Hmm.
which is funny. We have that connection to him from The Office and other things like Anchorman and stuff. So we know his voice, but he does such a good job with Gru, and it's funny. I've seen him on Instagram at times, like when he'll do the Gru impression, they'll ask him to do Gru saying this or that or whatever, and it's always funny. But the kids like have loved all the Despicable Me's and the two Minions movies
Yeah.
have been really really fun. I don't know. There's a little bit of substance I think to them. The first one kind of dove into like being accepted and loved, and he felt rejected by his parents, and he's got these girls that he's kind of adopted and stuff. So there's this kind of dynamic of family and love and caring for those that are kind of left behind and stuff. So there's some fun there. I think it's also funny, like Vector, I think was his name, the one
Hmm.
villain that wore the
The
yellow,
orange
yeah, orange
jumpsuit.
jumpsuit. That one was, I think, Despicable Me too. And there's actually a kid on Instagram now that dresses up as him because he looks a lot like him
Oh my
and
gosh.
does like different like interesting funny videos and stuff. So, but yeah, I haven't heard anything about this particular story. I know that in Despicable Me 3, they introduced his twin brother to the story, and there was another like 80s
Yes.
villain or whatever that had like the Michael Jackson dances and stuff like that. So, but they always kind of introduce a new villain, and it's kind of like a Bond in that way that you've got like this new villain he's got to take down. So we'll see. As more stuff comes out, I'm sure you'll hear us talk about it because I know the boys are gonna
Oh,
want to see it
totally.
for sure. So that's pretty cool. Kung Fu Panda coming out in March, Despicable Me coming out in July, Inside Out coming out in June, like we talked about last time. So there's lots of good kids movies this year that are kind of continuing, characters that the kids already like, which
Strong
helps.
movies. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Well, the next one that we have on the list is coming out July 19th, and this one I know is near and dear to your heart.
Yes, it's Twisters.
Yes.
So I believe the original one came out in 94 or 95, Twister. And it was with Helen Hunt. Um, I'm not sure the guy's name, but it it was so captivating, especially growing up in Twister Alley. So we're in Dallas, and growing up, I was always scared, but um, loved the thrill of a possible tornado coming through our neighborhood. And so I would go outside, and storms were coming. We'd go watch in the backyard and watch the sky, and then my stepdad would let me know if it's really, time to go ahead and go under the staircase. But um, yeah, so I loved that movie. It was cheesy. It wasn't 100% believable, but it was great. And so I'm interested to see what this one has. I haven't seen any previews yet.
Yeah, Bill Paxton was the
Bill Paxton,
actor,
thanks. Yeah.
and then it also had Philip Seymour Hoffman in it as
Hmm.
the nerdy guy, kind of helping him do the little balls that flew up into the storm, so you could
Hmm.
track everything and stuff like that. Carrie Ellis is in this also. He was the guy from he was the bad guy in the film. He was the head of
Oh,
the
yes.
other unit that was tracking the storms or whatever. But
He
he's
copied the same
yeah.
program
Hmm.
that Bill Paxton did.
Yeah, and I know him mostly from the first time I ever saw him was Princess Bride.
Oh,
So yeah, so he's always whenever I see his name pop up, I'm always like, oh, there he is, the
yeah.
Man in Black, as you wish. Um, Twister, yeah, Twister. I liked it when I was growing up too. I know that we saw it at some point. Not exactly, I probably just saw it on video. I don't think we went to the movie to see it, but yeah, I mean, it was just really fun. I think they developed new CG technology for that movie to like get the actual Twister feel. And of course, the funny like one-liners. There's
Cow.
the cow. There's another cow. No, I think that's the same cow.
Yeah.
So funny. One other thing about Twister that I remember is Universal Studios had I think it was either Universal or the Magic Kingdom, Hollywood Studios, Disney and Hollywood Studios, but one of them had like a Twister experience, and they
Oh,
actually had a machine that made a tornado inside the building. It was controlled, of course, but it made it like you could see it like you're like inside the house and seeing the Twister outside.
that's
So
cool.
it's pretty cool. It's always fun to kind of have those kind of tie-ins to the movies because it connects you, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we'll go see that. We'll have to, well, at least invite the boys to watch the first one. I think it'd be good for them to see the first one.
Well, we have a couple weather lovers.
Mm-hmm.
So I know Jacob likes kind of disastrous weather. Colton's intrigued by it. And I think Connor and Zeke would be too. It's more of just a fun thing.
Mm-hmm. And I think the technology, like, you think Connor would really dig
Yeah.
the science behind how they're trying to track them.
And I say fun lightly. I
Yeah.
know tornadoes and earthquakes and all that are super serious and
Yeah.
cause devastation, but talking from a blockbuster.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think I know that Jacob, his fascination was due to the fact that there was a tornado that hit where we lived before in Rowlett. And so we were actually out to Chili's and sitting at Chili's when we got the warning. And then we're like, oh, okay, well, let's go home. And we probably shouldn't have because it was like right behind us. Like literally, like we got home and got in the closet. And then the next day we're like, oh, yeah, it was so quiet where we were because it was about to come through our. Thankfully for us, it didn't hit our neighborhood, but it was definitely hitting the road that we were on. So one of the other ones that's coming out that in July this year is another big Marvel movie. Now, interesting thing about this one is it's the first time that it's been in Marvel, and so that movie is Deadpool 3. Let's say the X-Men movies. X-Men movies were owned by Fox for a long time. So the same way we talked about last episode, where Spider-Man is owned by, as far as the rights to do movies, is owned by Sony Pictures. So the same thing was true for Fox. Fox owned the X-Men series. So the X-Men movies that came out in 2000 all the way until just a few years ago, they were all produced, everything developed, all that by Fox. So they're the ones that have been promoting all that. And it was in association with Marvel because they're Marvel characters, so Marvel Comics, but Marvel Studios didn't own the rights to use any X-Men characters in their films. Now, one of the funny things about that is that in Age of Ultron, which was a Marvel movie, which was Avengers 2, basically, they had a character named Quicksilver who and his sister was Scarlet Witch, and they were kind of some of the main characters in that film. The same year, X-Men Days of Future Past came out, that was produced by Fox, and they also used Quicksilver. Those are the only two characters that could be used in both franchises. And the reason, one of the things is they couldn't comment on Magneto in the Avengers movie because they didn't own the Magneto. And so they didn't really they talked about his dad, but they didn't say like who it was or where he came from. Actually, they didn't talk about his dad in Avengers. They talked about his dad in the Fox one, in the Days of Future Past. Quicksilver. They didn't have Scarlet Witch, but they used Quicksilver. And then since that time, since the last Deadpool movie, Disney acquired Fox. So they bought Fox Studios, meaning they got all of those characters now back into Marvel, and they can use them. And then one of the funny pieces of that is that in Scarlet Witch, the
TV show,
the
wasn't it?
TV show WandaVision,
Yeah.
they had Quicksilver from the Fox movie come in as her brother, and she's like, "You're not my brother."
Yeah, I remember you paused it and you were like, "Hold on, guys, what?"
Yeah, that was the first crossover from the Fox X-Men into the Marvel world, and so that was a really cool moment when we were watching that because we didn't have any spoilers or anything. I had no idea it was coming, and then all of a sudden he walks on screen, and then they actually played on that, like, "Oh, you're from a different universe, or you're not the right Quicksilver." Anyway, it's so that's kind of fun to kind of know that. But this is also going to be the first rated R Marvel film that they're releasing. Marvel, being owned by Disney, has kept everything at that PG-13, and even within PG-13, it's always been kind of more playful, more childlike. You know, because we can watch the other PG-13 movies and go, "Oh my goodness, I'm glad the other boys weren't in here." But the Marvel movies, we kind of feel comfortable with watching those with the boys. But so this is kind of a big step for them. But because the prior two Deadpool movies were R, they are gonna continue that one for this Deadpool movie, and we'll see what else happens after that. But
Yeah, we will not be letting the kids watch this one.
no, not at all.
Hardcore. We've been against letting them watch any of the Deadpools just because they are very extreme.
Yeah, even within an R rating, it's a there are certain movies out there that are R rated, and we'll go, okay, we can skip that scene, or we can fill them in on what they need to be look out for, and no, like we don't talk like this, we don't do that. But if it's something we think is
Like a
worth it,
historical.
yeah,
Yeah.
we've let them do that. One or two movies we've let Jacob watch, but for the most part, we aren't like just letting them watch whatever they want. We keep pretty strict rules on that.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention that since you said, Disney had taken over. So I
Hmm.
was like, that doesn't mean it's
Exactly.
cool for kids.
Right, right. And they're going to keep it R. The crazy thing is they are combining the universes. It's in Disney, but Hugh Jackman is coming back to play Wolverine one more
Wow.
time, and this is like crazy. And the marketing for it was so like low key. Ryan Reynolds was just doing it looked like an Instagram live feed kind of announcement thing,
Mm-hmm.
and then he said, I think we're going to do this, and I think Wolverine's going to be in it. And then Hugh Jackman walks
Yeah.
walks by him from behind and is like, yeah, sure, Ryan, whatever you want, man. Or something like it's something really clever, like low key, like, and then it just blows up the internet for days. And a lot of shots have been being released as far as showing them walking together, and he's in the Wolverine suit is the 90s like
Oh, wow.
cartoon version color yellow and blue colored suit. So Wolverine, it's I have no idea what is going to happen in it. There's rumors and talks that Deadpool is probably going to like crash through universes, since
Mm.
the Marvel movies have been kind of doing that kind of different timelines and stuff in this phase. So that he's going to maybe like go through and crash it and try and break them all to kind of get us back to one story or one universe. I don't know. We'll see. But
Yeah.
I mean, just the fact that Disney is doing Deadpool in rated R, um, is a big step for them. And I think it's really cool to give them that creative freedom to do that, because the other two Deadpool movies have been so successful.
Right.
They've been like so like audiences have liked them. So like let's just keep that going for this one, and then they might use him in other movies but tone him down.
Yeah.
Like there's definitely we'll see if they continue it after this, but pretty cool that it's coming out this year. Before we kind of move on from the Marvel universe real quick, because I think it does relate with Deadpool being rated R. Disney's also releasing their first TVMA series on Disney Plus.
Oh, wow.
Back a few years ago, Netflix had acquired the rights. Marvel let them create 4 series on their platform: Jessica Jones, Luke Cage, Iron Fist, Daredevil,
Mm-hmm.
and then they also actually released a Punisher series as well. So Netflix had their own kind of like universe going, and they would reference the things that were happening in Marvel. So it was a part of the Marvel universe. And then recently, Daredevil appeared. We haven't watched She-Hulk, but he appeared in She-Hulk for a few episodes.
Oh, cool.
So they brought him in to the thing. So the Netflix series is now still a part of the whole Marvel universe. Vincent D'Onofrio plays Kingpin in that series, and he was incredible. He also was in the Hawkeye show,
Oh, yeah.
and there was the deaf girl that was in that
Mhm.
show. That was the kind of the bad kind of the fighting lady that they had to fight a bunch of times. So they're doing a series with her, and the Netflix series were all TVMA. That's why I wanted to bring that up. They were all TVMA. They had a more adult content, as far as the violence, and then even the sex and things like that. So they when they brought all those over to Disney Plus, they then gave you the ability to put a pin, so you could kind of say this is the adult content and this is kids content, so the kids don't get into the TVMA stuff. But this new show Echo is also the first one that Disney is actually doing themselves, and it's TVMA, and it's called Echo. So it's interesting that they're kind of Disney is expanding a little bit of their ideas and their philosophy on some of these shows to make more adult content, because there's definitely an audience for it.
Right, the parents of the kids.
yeah, that want to watch something a little bit more serious, a little bit more gritty, more kind of realistic as far as the way that it plays in the stories. So,
And with them acquiring Fox, and they're so big, meaning
mhm,
Disney's so big now, you have to come up with new content that
yeah,
more people will watch than just kids.
yeah, for sure. So that comes out this month. So if you like the Marvel stuff, if you don't, definitely worth checking out. If it plays into it at all, like the Netflix series did, it was good. And I think it's going to be great. I love Vincent D'Onofrio. I've loved him for a long time as far as being an actor. Um, and so him as Kingpin is always a treat. All right, let's move on. Next month that we're talking about, August, is August 9th, the new movie called Borderlands. And now this is based off of a video game series that I actually have never played. I don't really know anything about the characters or anything like that, but I do believe it's in kind of like a post-apocalyptic some world event has happened, or it's in the distant future where everything's kind of like all government and everything has gone haywire, and so you're having to survive in that type of environment. So
Mm.
similar to like a Mad Max, like we talked about
Mm-hmm.
last time, Borderlands is kind of that same idea, and so it'll be interesting to kind of see that one. I'm not sure if we'll go see it in the movie theater. I'm guessing it's going to be rated R because the game is TVMA,
Yeah.
but but you know, definitely interested to see when they can take a video game and make a good movie from it. If it's a good movie, that's always good for video game movies because it means that there's more opportunity to do them. And as someone who likes to play video games, I like also seeing them take it and make it into a more story-based film because it introduces the ideas that you fell in love with in the video game. If they can do it right, it can also be a fun, an interesting kind of way to engage with the content. It's just
A
that
little
there's
storytelling.
yeah, the unfortunate thing is there's just not a whole lot of good good ones out there that do that. So
Yeah, I've not played the game, but I'm interested to see it.
it'll be fun to see a trailer and kind of see what they're talking about. So the next one is August 16th, and this is Alien Romulus. So this is the Alien series is one that we've watched the first three.
Mm-hmm.
We watched Alien 1, Alien 2, Aliens, it was Alien 2, and then Alien 3. Um, it's been a while since we watched them,
With
but
Sigourney Weaver, right?
yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
yeah, Sigourney Weaver really solid movies.
Yeah.
But then they actually after that they did Alien Resurrection, which we haven't seen together. I've seen it. It kind of takes a dip, but then they came back with Prometheus and then Alien Covenant were the next two that Ridley Scott kind of as prequels to the original Alien. He came out with those, but this one is actually between two of the older movies. The timeline is it's just kind of an Elseworld or like a not Elseworld, but like another story of aliens in that time frame. It's not a continuation of the story we know. It's just
Okay.
kind of like another story of a group of people encountering these aliens. And I know, I mean, what were your thoughts on the Alien movies when we watched them?
I liked them. I thought I mean, for how old they were done really well. Um, I thought that they were scary. It was, hang on. I think the Alien movies, they are pretty creepy with how they look like lobster crab things that attach to your face,
Hmm.
but
Yeah,
um, they're definitely engaging.
yeah. And the first one was really scary, really like kind of a horror film, and then the second one became more of like an action film. James Cameron directed that one. Ridley Scott directed the first one. The third one was directed by David Fincher, and then the studio kind of took over halfway through. So he doesn't like want anything to do with aliens ever again. He won't do any commentaries. He won't do any
Oh
interviews. He's
man.
like because it was just he was a young director, and they kind of tried to like manhandle him, and he was not having it. And it was before anybody knew how awesome he was,
Yeah.
you know. And so it's like that's what sometimes studios try to take advantage of someone's newness to the industry, and he was just more confident than that, and he wasn't going to do what they told him to do, so he left the project kind of in the middle of post production, I think, or so. Anyway, but we watched the movie, and I like Alien 3. I mean, it dives into some of the like religious overtones and stuff like that too. So excited to see this one. I think it's fun to kind of dip your toes into that series again, and the fact that you don't really have to. It's not a continuation of the story. Like you can really just jump in and watch it as you want. We'll see what it's rated to see if it's something that we'll take the boys to, but I know it's something that we'll go see for sure.
Yeah, I don't know if I don't know.
Yeah, not the younger boys.
Yeah, not the younger boys.
Yeah.
We don't need to have nightmares.
For sure. So the next one that we're going to talk about comes out August 30th, and this is now another movie in that Sony Spider-Verse. So we talked about Madam Web last time. This one is Kraven the Hunter. Kraven is, from what I've gathered by just kind of some of the podcasts I listen to, he is the best hunter in the world, and he's hunted everything and been able to track down every animal, everything he's ever wanted to track down, and he wants to track down Spider-Man in the comics because it would be like the greatest trophy is if he could kill Spider-Man because he's tracked down all the others. So that's kind of his character. The movie doesn't have Spider-Man in it like these other ones. Spider-Man's not in it because Spider-Man, they're kind of keeping in the Marvel stuff, but they're using all these other characters to try and build it out, build out the world. So I'm interested to see it because it just, I hope it's good.
Yeah.
Aaron Taylor Johnson is the let me just double check that name. I think it's funny because I think Aaron Taylor Johnson, but then I'm like Anya Taylor Joy. So let me just do it. Is Aaron Taylor Johnson.
Nice.
I got it right. So I was hoping I wasn't getting it messed up, but so Aaron Taylor Johnson. Okay, just because we've talked about it, he played Quicksilver already in
my gosh,
the Avengers Age of Ultron. So he's been in the Marvel world before. He also played Kick-Ass in the movie Kick-Ass. So that was his first kind of comic book-esque movie, but that was like real people in the real world wearing costumes to fight bad guys. So it was kind of interesting, but it was not trying to take itself seriously as a comic book movie. It was a good movie, fun. McLovin was in it as the bad guy. So yeah. So any thoughts on that?
No, not really. I'll watch it.
Yeah,
I'm just kind of middle of the road.
For sure. And with it being in that the kind of Sony world, it'll be interesting to see if they bring any other of those characters in, like from this Madam Web or from Venom or Morbius or whatever. And actually, kind of a spoiler warning, but Morbius, which had Jared Leto as the guy, he was dying and ended up having bats. Either he drank bat blood or whatever, something, and he ended up becoming like basically a vampire. So it's kind of like Dracula in the Marvel universe. But then he's not really a bad guy. He's more of like kind of like this kind of, he's scary, but he's not he's not always against Spider-Man or anything. It's just kind of an odd character that kind of roams around. But at the end of that movie, they had Michael Keaton in the post-credit scene as his character from Spider-Man Homecoming.
That's right.
So it's interesting to kind of see that they are kind of playing with those characters a little bit in Sony. Even though they're Marvel characters, there's a little bit of flexibility because they own Spider-Man stuff. So anyway, so it'll be fun to see if they do any of that in Kraven the Hunter. So so getting on to September 6th is Beetlejuice 2. Beetlejuice 2 is coming out. Do you remember watching Beetlejuice?
I do. I was young, but I thought it was funny to me. So yeah, I'm excited to see it.
Speaking of Michael Keaton, right? Yeah. Like Michael Keaton was in is Beetlejuice, and Winona Ryder. They're both reprising their roles in this Beetlejuice 2. Side note, Winona Ryder played one of the characters in Alien Resurrection. So anyway,
all the worlds.
It's all connected.
Colliding.
But I think, I'm interested to see this, and I'm interested to watch Beetlejuice again. I watched it. It was a little odd as a kid. I don't know that I thought it was funny. I think I'm ready to watch it as an adult and kind of see what all I remember, because I'm sure there's kind of those quotes or stuff that are just back there that I can't really grab them, but when I hear them, I'm going to go, oh yeah, that's right. But it was just a weird kind of weird, dark movie, but
Totally
should be good.
quirky.
Yeah. But I'm excited to see what they do with Beetlejuice 2. They've done this in recent years where they're kind of grabbing these old movies from the 80s and 90s and now kind of doing 30 years later, hey, here's what's happened since then.
I think it's because we as adults are now grown up and they're trying to capture this audience,
Hmm.
especially now that we've got kids. And so just trying to blend in the worlds. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I think that's absolutely right. And I think the people that grew up watching those movies are now in charge too.
Yeah.
So like, oh, I'd like to see that again, or maybe somebody's got a good idea finally, things like that. So that'll be fun. All right, the next one, September 13th, is Transformers 1. I don't know anything about this particular story or anything about it, but it is interesting because they just had a Transformers movie
Hmm.
come out last year. Um, and I think Transformers is one of those series where it's hit or miss with whether it's a good movie. Most of them aren't great, but it's still in the idea of being able to go watch Transformers like fight bad guys or whatever. That's always kind of at least somewhat entertaining. In the storyline, I don't really follow the storyline too much on those, but
No, it's just fun to watch them transform.
yeah, exactly.
And what's weird is I did not watch Transformers as a kid, but as an adult, I really have enjoyed them. Um, I don't know, being a boy mom, it's kind of
Hmm.
like, okay, yeah, I get it. That's cool.
And I think one of the first movies we went to as a family before we were a family, but we were dating, and we took them to see Bumblebee.
Yes.
And so that was one of the first movies we saw together, all six of us. And that was actually a really good movie, but because the prior Transformers movie was not great, it didn't get a whole lot of people to go see it.
Mm.
Um, and then the most recent Transformers movie, Rise of the Beasts, was a continuation of that Bumblebee storyline. Bumblebee is back in the 80s, and so it's kind of like they kind of going back. Can we recreate that kind of um, reintroducing it magic, or get back to the original designs of the Transformers, where Michael Bay in the original Transformers movies really modernized the look and everything.
Hmm.
Bumblebee was an attempt to like, hey, let's go back and have actually the original VW Bug, right? And have Bumblebee be what he was. He was a bug, a yellow Volkswagen that turned into a robot, or turned into a transformer. So, and then Rise of the Beast was kind of the continuation of that, where they brought all of them in, and they had all the original kind of 80s designs for the characters. Um, we actually never even got to see it because it was in the theaters at a time when we weren't really hitting up the movies, or maybe there was some other Marvel movie. And when you got six kids and
Yeah.
you just
You
can't
pick and
always
choose.
go to every movie that's out. But I would like to see it. It wasn't because I didn't want to see it. It looked really, really cool visually. So yeah. So I'm assuming that this is something like that, but I'm not 100% sure. But it's Transformers 1 coming out September 13th. So
Yeah.
the next one, October 4th, is Joker Folie à Deux. Now
Mm.
this is a continuation of the Joker movie that came out in 2018, where we kind of saw him become the Joker, and it was super creepy and super dark and rated R, and it was,
Joaquin Phoenix, is he still playing?
yes,
Oh, wow.
and
That's
Lady
cool.
Gaga is playing Harley Quinn.
Oh my gosh. That's amazing.
And one more thing,
Okay.
it's a musical.
What? Okay. I don't know how I feel about
I
that.
don't know either. I don't either. But the director is back, and I remember when the Joker movie first came out, they're like, "No, this is not in this. It's not in the Batman universe. It's not in the DC universe. It's not anywhere in near any of that stuff. It's just a movie about Joker. So watch it as if it's this one-off kind of. Nobody else is gonna. This isn't a series. It's just a movie that kind of tackles this one character, and did it in such a way that was just eerie and
Beautiful.
beautiful and dark and moving. And Todd Phillips was director, Joaquin Phoenix as the Joker, just heartbreaking.
Yeah.
And you really feel for him as a character. You know his motivation. You know where he's like. It's just so eerie. If you haven't seen that, definitely check that out. It's
Helps you empathize a
incredible.
little bit with his
Yeah,
character. I mean, he is kind of quirky and all of that, but
yeah,
why? This
yeah.
tells you why.
Yeah, exactly. So it'll be interesting to kind of see where they go with that, because Harley Quinn Fun fact: Harley Quinn wasn't in the comics until she was in the animated series. They created her for the Batman animated series in the 90s, and then she got so popular from that series that they then started putting her in comics, and then of course also in the most recent movies when Margot Robbie has played her a couple times in Suicide Squad, The Suicide Squad, and the Harley Quinn movie. So it'll be fun. I mean, Lady Gaga, incredible
Oh,
actress
totally. Yeah.
and incredible singer.
Yep.
So it'll be really kind of fun to see this. One other fun fact is one of my favorite comedians had a cameo in The Joker, Gary Goldman.
Oh, yeah.
He's doing a stand-up set in the background before he goes on to do his stand-up set, and then he crash and burns because he's no good. But Gary Goldman was the guy that was there too. So, and I'm interested in that timeline just because know Gary Goldman's kind of story, like where he was mentally in that, because
Yeah.
I think it's post his kind of mental break,
Mhm.
and because the movie is talking about mental
Mhm.
illness, and that's what the main kind of theme is that we need to get help to these types of folks, not demonize them and not make them villains and not laugh at them and not make fun of them. There's people out there that need help. We should get them help they need.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of why Gary Goldman was kind of keen to do that because of his battles with mental illness. So, all right, cool. The next one, November 8th. This is the last one that we'll say this about, but this one is in the Sony Spider-Verse, Venom 3. I saw the first Venom, thought it was fine. Second Venom, it was fine. It was pretty good. It had Carnage, which is another like red Venom. But Woody Harrelson played it. Tom Hardy plays Venom, or plays Eddie Brock, who gets the symbiote, the alien material gets on him, and then kind of becomes a parasite and uses his body. So that's kind of the premise of Venom. And Venom 1, Venom 2, and then there's Morbius, and now there's Venom 3. So it'll be interesting. I haven't heard anything about the storylines or anything like that. It's still not till November, so plenty of time to get trailers and things like that. But it is interesting that they feel like they've had good success with the box office, that these Venom movies, that they're going to keep making them. And Tom Hardy's a really good actor and a likable actor, but it's not necessarily your cup of tea.
No, I'm not excited.
No, you don't have to
I'm
be.
not looking for. I probably won't watch it.
No, that's okay.
So you guys enjoy that.
Yeah,
I'll go have a girls' day.
yeah, that's fine. That'll work. All right. Next one that's coming out November 22nd is Gladiator 2. So speaking of movies that have never had a sequel for the last 30 years and then coming back and having a sequel, again, it's another one of those pieces that I don't know anything about, like the story or the timeline. There may have been some stuff that have come out about like what the storyline is going to be and who's the characters, but I know the first Gladiator was one that I loved, and we watched it within the last year, I think.
Yep.
You seeing it for the first time, what were your thoughts on it? Russell Crowe as Maximus, and Joaquin Phoenix was the villain as the ruler.
Yeah, I like the story. I thought it was really well done. Um, they really had to work out hard to get there physically, but uh, yeah, I think this will be. Well, I don't actually know if it's going to be good or not, but I'm interested in watching it and finding out.
Yeah, for sure. I think Ridley Scott's coming back to do it. Maybe not. But yeah, Gladiator 2
Yeah.
should be fun. The next one is another series that's coming out December 13th. That's my mom's birthday. So
Happy birthday, Mom.
this is Lord of the Rings: The War of the Rohirrim. I don't know anything about this. I just know that it's on the list, and
Yeah.
I saw that it was coming out a while ago, but I don't know anything about the storyline or where this is. But it feels to me like it's a Lord of the Rings kind of in that world, where there's hobbits and elves and all that. But it's a storyline that's in that world, and probably not necessarily tied to specifically the characters we already know.
Well, I
Uh,
actually haven't seen any of the Lord of the Rings, so I
Yeah.
would be totally lost. Maybe I should commit to that and be
Yeah.
prepared for December 13th.
I'd like to watch those with the boys. I think
Mhm.
they're at the age now where they could sit through it and watch it. It's a lot more slow moving than like the Marvel movies. So I haven't been like really pressing to watch that with them because it is more of a kind of a teenager level kind of being able to kind of focus and see what's going on. It's really incredible world building. Peter Jackson directed those and they're great. And I think at least being introduced to that world would be good to go see this one.
Mm-hmm.
Um, there's a Lord of the Rings TV show that came out on Amazon Prime last year, and I've heard that it's pretty good. My parents watched it and they liked it. I haven't seen it yet, and I didn't know if it was something you had to see the movies before you saw the show, so I might look into
Gotcha.
that. But it's interesting. You know, they did the Lord of the Rings movies. Peter Jackson directed those, and then they went back and took The Hobbit and broke that up into 3 movies and did a trilogy of Hobbits. Peter Jackson directed that one as well. So I don't know who is directing this one and all that, but it's definitely a good kind of. It lets you know that there's at least people out there that feel Lord of the Rings is a good property. It's a good world to like, hey, let's go live in this for a little bit.
Yeah.
So um, the next one we're looking at is December 13th also, and that is The Karate Kid. Now, this is interesting
Mm-hmm.
because Karate Kid came out in the 80s. I
I think
loved it.
84.
Yeah. And we watched it with the boys back in the old house
Mm-hmm.
before we moved into this house. We watched through the first 3, and we watched the other one with Jackie Chan
Yep.
and Jaden Smith. So it was like a kind of not a reboot necessarily, but more of like a, hey, let's tell that kind of similar story, but use the brand of Karate Kid to tell it.
In a
And
modern day.
in a modern day, yeah. And then after that, within the last 6 to 7 years, we've had the Cobra Kai show. It started on YouTube and then it ended up going over to Netflix. And there's been like 5 or 6 seasons of that where it's taking the original characters from the 80s movie or 80s movie and looking at them like, where are they at now?
Mm-hmm.
And so you've got Johnny as the main character in the first season struggling with life because of him losing that tournament in the first movie. It sent his life down a path where he's not a very successful person because of how he was treated by his sensei and all that stuff. Like it's really, really, it's a good story. So it's a good premise, good start. And then he kind of interacts with Danny LaRusso. Danny LaRusso is kind of the villain in the first season. Mm-hmm. He's the one that's kind of, he never does villainous things, but he's like, we're following Johnny and Johnny doesn't like Danny, right? So now what's cool about this new movie that's coming out December 13th, 2024, is it's actually bridging the gap between those 2 films. Sorry, the Jackie Chan film. Jackie Chan's going to be in this movie, and Dan LaRusso is going to be in this movie.
Oh, fun.
So it's kind of okay. Yeah, that did happen in the same universe. It was another story. Jackie Chan was the trainer. Jaden Smith was learning kung fu.
Mm-hmm.
That also at the same time, Danny and Johnny are doing their thing in America. And so this one is going to be somehow joining those 2 characters, which would be kind of fun to see Jackie Chan in the Karate Kid.
Yeah, totally. I'm all for the Karate Kid. I really enjoyed those movies. I think it's got a really good lesson behind it for parenting where it's, the kid, they don't want to hang up their jacket just because they don't care. But I mean, just the way that he taught him how to care and how to respect your parents and um, how to fight and do the right thing and not necessarily fight, but defend yourself and just make the right choices and to kind of point out that he has that inside him. He just needs to tap into it. So
I think that's perfect. That's a great explanation. And I think the 80s version and the Jackie Chan version that came out recently, they both are kind of they're trying to show martial arts what martial arts really is about, which is about self-reflection. It's about being in control of your body. It's about learning to handle the world in a respectful way.
mm-hmm.
And the villains in both of those movies are studios or dojos where they're just trying to fight and hurt and pain and beat people up just because they want to be tough. And so it's kind of putting that, even the original with Mr. Miyagi and the one with Jackie Chan, it's like their approach to martial arts is, no, this is a centering practice. This is a way of just being in control. You know, kind of like the way that you work out. Like
Mhm.
it's this is where I find my chi. This is where I
The
find my
mental
peace, my mental
cleansing.
cleansing. Yeah, and that's what they're trying to train it as opposed to how everybody else thinks about karate and martial arts is, oh, they're just fighting. And the movies are trying to say, no, it's more than that. It's a life. It's a way of viewing the world and knowing the strength that's inside me, and also when to use that strength and
Yeah.
when not to, and that we should use it for good and not for evil and all that stuff. So many good morals that you can learn from each of those Karate Kid movies. So it's going to be fun. See
Yeah.
Jackie Chan and Danny working together. Just two more left that we're going to tackle. They're both in December 20th. They both come out in December, and they're both kids films. So the first one is Sonic the Hedgehog 3. That's another movie that we took the boys to see.
Mhm.
I don't know if you went with us that time. I might have
No,
just taken them.
I didn't, but I wasn't really a fan. I liked the first one. The second one, um, I think I did actually see it because we went and saw it twice. So I know I fell asleep. It just
Yeah,
was there's too much going on.
yeah.
And the villain, um,
Jim Carrey.
Jim Carrey,
Yeah,
which he's funny
yeah.
to me on certain things, but it was
A
just
little over the top
a
for you.
little
It's
over the
not,
top.
and he's definitely that character. He's definitely going all in. Like
Yeah,
he's going all
totally.
out, and that's kind of that character. But the Sonic, Zeke really loves Sonic.
Oh, I know. And so I don't I'll support him in his love for Sonic, but
Yeah,
I'm not excited to watch it.
for sure, for sure. And the first one was really pretty good. Just kind of a little background. The first one that came out, they released a teaser, and Sonic didn't look like Sonic. They tried to make a different look for him to be more, whether it was more modern or just kind of, hey, this is the movie. He's gonna look different. He's gonna look more like a hedgehog. And fans just like went, no, this is not good, and it ruled the internet for a while. And then the studio and the director came back and said, all right, we've heard you. We're going to make him look like he does in the cartoon, like he does in the video games. And they redesigned. They had to redesign the whole character and everything. But it was just one of those things where, if they want the movie to be successful, certain things you just probably need to just keep the same.
Yeah.
So because especially the look of the character, it just doesn't. If it looks weird or looks different, it's not always going to pan out. So, but yeah, I liked them. Jim Carrey, definitely an over the top character. I don't know. I don't know that he's going to be in this one, but he played the Egghead, Doctor Robotnik, in the first two, who is always just trying to go capture Sonic, because Sonic's got his his quills. His quills have special powers and stuff. So he wants to use that to hurt people or get lots of money, something. So that's Sonic 3. The last movie of the year that we're going to talk about comes out also on December 20th, and this is Mufasa.
Mufasa.
Yeah. So the Lion King live action film came out a few years ago. They redid some songs. Well, they redid all the songs, but they added a few songs to it. It was directed by Jon Favreau, who did Iron Man. He also did Jungle Book. As far as like kind of where that goes, as far as his relationship with Disney, and then also the development of the technology to show real life animals. They had great success with Jungle Book, and so then that got him the job to do Lion King in quote unquote live action. It's not live action, but it's trying to look like it's real, as opposed to being 100% animated. This is computer animated, but made to look live. So they still kind of say live action, even though it's animated. But
a lot of animals, wild animals, you'd have to train to
yeah,
cooperate. But I loved The Lion King. Oh my gosh, fourth grade, I was crying. Dad dies. Here's this little cub, poor Simba, played by Jonathan Taylor Thomas, who looks different now. Anyway, so yeah, I'm excited to see what this story has.
Yeah, it definitely feels like it's going to show Mufasa's rise to power. Like the origin of Mufasa, who was voiced by Darth Vader himself, James Earl Jones.
Did not know that.
Yeah,
Okay.
he did the voice of Mufasa in the original animated, and they got him to come back for the live action version a few years ago. And I saw recently that he actually gave, I think he gave them Disney the rights to use his voice AI if they need to after he
Wow.
passes
Oh,
to do characters like Darth Vader if they want to.
that's
I
cool.
think that's you have to fact check me if you really are interested in that, but I feel like I heard that recently. With all the kind of the stuff going with AI and stuff, he probably signed a deal where his family would get the benefits, right?
Mhm.
Like, it's not like you can't use it for free,
Sure.
but if you want to, then yes, you can, and let's sign a contract for how you're going to take care of my kids, my grandkids, my great grandkids. Like still let that voice live on because that voice is so iconic.
Yeah.
And you can't, no matter how good someone is at imitating voices, you can't imitate James Earl Jones. Like he's incredible. His voice is just so incredible. So it'll be interesting to see what the storyline is. Definitely feels like it's just from the title itself, kind of like the origin of Mufasa and what he did to become the king of Pride Rock.
Totally. I'm all
Well,
for it.
yeah. Well, there you go. There's a few on here that you want to see,
Yes.
a few on here you don't care about, and a few on here that we'll take the boys to, and quite a few on here that we won't take the boys to. But it was kind of even as far as what the movies we were able to talk about. I'm sure there's plenty of other movies that are going to come out. Like we said last time, this wasn't an exhaustive list, but it was a list that we found from on Instagram from the account Movie Facts. So shoot over there and give them a follow. And while you're there, make sure you're following us. Movies That Make You is our handle on Instagram and on YouTube and Spotify and Apple Podcasts and anywhere else podcasts are found. So be sure to give us a like, share, subscribe, all that stuff. We're excited for the new year. Excited to kind of see a lot of these movies that we've talked about, and excited to talk to the boys about what movies they want to share with you all in the coming weeks.
Yep. Sounds good. We'll see y'all next time.
Thanks again for joining us on today's podcast where we discussed the most anticipated movies of 2024. We hope you're as excited as we are for the cinematic adventures that lie ahead for us. I know that we're excited and the boys are excited to jump into what we've got going on this year. Don't forget to subscribe for future episodes and stay tuned for Instagram to find out what's coming up next. As soon as we have it figured out and scheduled out, we'll post for you to see it there. And if you have any suggestions or any questions, feel free to shoot us a message on Instagram. We'd love to hear from you. Until next time, happy watching.